Labrador Energy Podcast with me, Dragos, your resident Labrador Energy host. Yeah, the comedian that's a resident comedian at a kebab shop and also a resident comedian on a boat. Because fuck yeah, started from the waves. And today I have with me Kate.
Hello.
And Kate is coming all the way from Ireland.
Indeed, yeah.
How's my Irish accent? Hello there, top of the morning. Is that Irish?
No.
Not at all, okay.
No way.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So, off to a rough start here, guys. So Kate's visiting from Ireland at the moment, Berlin, and she actually came to the show that we did last night in Berlin, the Eastern European Comedy Special numero 4.
Quattro, hey. Yeah, like number 4. Oh, it wasn't the first, it wasn't the inaugural one.
No, it was the 4th one. So basically, you guys know the drill. I don't know much about Kate, so we're going to try to figure out a bit more about what she's up to and see if she has Labrador energy, yeah? So Kate, can you give us a quick introduction?
Hello, my name's Kate. I am in my mid-30s. I live in Dublin and I work in healthcare.
Okay. So what do you do in healthcare?
I am an occupational therapist, which is a controversial title for a job or profession. We like to say we're the worst named profession in the world because everyone says, "Oh, you get jobs for people." I'm like, no, we don't do that. We work in rehabilitation.
This is exactly what I said before recording the interview.
Yeah.
Oh, you find people occupations, okay? It is hard looking for a job. Oh no, I help.
I help you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, if only, it would be way more straightforward. We work in rehabilitation. So if someone becomes ill or has an accident, then potentially they can lose the skills.
How did you end up going into this area of work?
I always really liked the idea of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And I like rehab. I like working with people.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of the perfect fit in that.
So you kind of like the opposite of Amy Winehouse? All right. So
the other problem is the way people use the word rehab as well.
It's true.
Totally associated now with alcohol or drugs,
right?
And that's not it. That's one tiny piece of what rehabilitation can be.
So this is more physical and mental rehabilitation?
We work in physical health settings and mental health settings. So an example of a physical health setting could be after somebody has a stroke,
mm-hmm.
and they might lose the use of one side of their body.
Mm-hmm.
So we would help that person, learn new ways of getting dressed,
mm-hmm.
or washing themselves,
mm-hmm.
or feeding themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then in mental health, you'll find with various different mental illnesses, it can affect people's motivation, their energy. So
mm-hmm.
again, we're using it, or we're intervening, or we're working with people to help them get back to like a regular routine, and that involves getting up, washed, dressed, feeding themselves, maybe using the bus,
mm-hmm.
going places publicly, doing things they enjoy doing, that
mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
And is this, because I'm very curious about this part of, so is this like more of a government-sponsored type of, is this like, or is it like private institutions, who handle these?
Really good question.
Mm-hmm.
So it would depend on how your health services run nationally. Mm-hmm. So in Ireland we have the HSE,
mm-hmm.
and we have OTs who work for the HSE.
HSE is the...
Health Service Executive.
Gotcha.
Good question, yeah.
Okay.
And then again, when I started working, like 10 years ago,
mm-hmm.
there was no jobs in Ireland, so I went to England.
All right.
And that was the NHS, and a lot of OTs work for the NHS. So you'll generally find us hanging out with physios and speech and language therapists.
Okay, and where did you go in the UK to work there?
Where did I go?
Yeah.
So I was in Liverpool
mm-hmm.
for about 3 years, and then I worked in London for a year.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of, how does one get into this profession? You're kind of like in a high school and you're like, I'm gonna become an occupational therapist.
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't like initially I wanted to work in theatre
mm-hmm.
or
mm-hmm.
something in the arts,
mm-hmm.
and then thought it wasn't possible,
mm-hmm.
and headed on and thought, no, this I can do. I can work in OT.
Who introduces you to the profession? Do you guys have like career fairs, or how does that kind of even come about?
That's a really good question. Generally someone who's already in it,
mm-hmm.
and they show you the ropes, or they tell you about it. And then, or you have an elderly relative who got sick and the OT came out to the house to like put in adaptive equipment or things like that, or you were working, or you saw the work the OT did with your elderly relative and thought that's kind of cool. So that's the two ways people go into it. And then, like any other profession, it's kind of how I did it was there's a few different pathways into
mm-hmm.
it. So I got points in my leaving cert, which is like the abitur here.
Okay.
Or like the final exam you do at the end of high school.
Right. The baccalaureate.
Oh wow! Oh, that sounds way fancier than
as we
the
call it in
leaving cert.
Romania. You can fuck over it. You take it and then you go.
Exactly. So
then you go leave Romania. No,
you get points in that. And
sorry, I'm still stuck on my Eastern European accent from yesterday. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here.
So yeah, point system basically.
Right. Okay. So then you started doing that in Liverpool, yeah?
I studied in Ireland for 4 years, and then there was no work when I finished studying because the first recession hit, recession 1.
Ah, yes,
yeah,
recession.
In 2008. So I packed my bags and went to England.
Okay.
And was there for about 4 years.
And whereabouts in Ireland are you from?
I grew up in Limerick, and now Galway is home, and I live in Dublin.
Right. Okay. So you're like all over the place.
Yeah, I kind of am all over the place.
It's
actually.
just one pit stop in Cork, and then you got it.
No, once you go to Cork, you don't get out of Cork.
Really, and that's all the cities that I know, but I don't know much about Cork.
Really? Have you ever been to Ireland?
I've been to Dublin. Yeah, I did a show there earlier this year.
Oh, cool.
Like in a small pub. Actually, I thrive off Irish pubs. Not in an alcoholic way, but a lot of the shows that I do in Europe, because they're relatively under 100 people, I basically speak with like Irish pubs all over Europe. They tend to be like good hotspots for expats. And I'm like, hey guys, how about I come over do a show on a Tuesday and you guys don't charge me any rent? That sound like a good idea? And they're like, yeah, go for it.
We have a huge, huge is generous, but we have an up and coming stand-up scene in Dublin.
Yeah, I didn't go to any of the shows. I know there is a presence, but I basically just found an Irish pub, which is probably just a pub in Ireland. Yeah. Because all pubs are Irish pubs in Ireland.
They're just the pub. We don't have to call them. We don't have to qualify it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, man, you can use our top floor. If it's up to like 50 people, have at it.
Can I ask which pub that was?
I can't remember, but I can look into it if you want.
Yeah. After the show. Tell me. Yeah. There's a few good ones. Like a mate of mine does a lot of stand up, and she's in an alternative stand up thing. Right. That's like they're really active, like every week.
Yeah, it's a nice. I mean, that's for me. Like for me, one of the things that kind of stuck with it because like I never had like a hobby that I was able to maintain for a long period of time. But then this was like, oh, okay, well, this is my life now.
This is my life now.
Yeah. And it was pretty chill. There was a lot of Croatians that came to the show actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a Croatian infestation.
In Ireland, yeah, we've loads of Croatians. A lot of my friends
Perhaps
are
Croatians. The word infestation is not the one we want to use.
Influx. Yeah, we're delighted to have them. They're great workers.
They're pretty chill, yeah. Okay, so you kind of gone all over Ireland, and then you ended up in Liverpool. How was that? Was that a big adjustment?
Yes, it was, because it's like my first job. I was totally on my own. I started off in this like old age unit, so everyone was over 65.
Oh my god! Is that a lot of people that are like, let's just say, does their vocabulary or like their mannerisms become a bit more, aggressive? Like, hey man, it's Irish people, Romanian people here, racist? No,
in England, no, they were fine.
Okay, cool.
No, they were fine. Yeah, but it was out in this like small, old seaside town where old RAF pilots. Let's
just call them pirates.
Went to retire.
Right.
And it was an old age mental health unit and later became a dementia unit.
Okay.
So it was really rewarding work.
Right.
But it was like I was completely on my own at 22, 23.
So what would you do on a day-to-day basis?
So you would, God, I'm going back a long time now. So you'd get up, you'd head in, you'd get your hand over, you'd do a lot of work with people around washing and dressing. So because if people are losing their memory or losing cognitive skill, then your everyday activities or activities of daily living, as we call it in the business, are going to be impaired. So we would work with people to maintain those skills. Then you do a lot of one-to-one work, and that could be on anything from getting someone to use the kitchen to going out to somebody's home to see if there's anything we needed to adapt there, to all different things, to working with family members maybe.
Right.
Then it was a ward system, so residents would have their lunch, and then I'd probably run like therapeutic groups in the afternoon or go to like team meetings, all those kinds of things.
I was gonna say, so in that situation, do a lot of these people do their, because I'm assuming it's, in my imagination, it's like obviously, do the children come visit often? Or?
Yes, a lot. Well, it depends, because some people have no one.
Right.
So it's and that would be what you would find and what we would find. Maybe 20% of the time.
Right.
Was somebody like much later in life, 70s, 80s, they'd outlived everyone, or maybe they had no children.
Right.
And with that generation as well, going back 10 years ago, everyone we were working with had survived the war, you know. It could be that they were completely on their own. Their memory had been going for a long, long time. They took a fall on the main street. They come into us and we realise, whoa, you know, how is this person getting by?
Right. Oh, that sounds pretty intense, because again, you're like, Jesus Christ, it's can feel super helpless, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's well, I suppose it's what you're looking into for this person is very sad, to see what someone used to be and what they were trying to maintain and how alone they are. You know, and even it's hard to watch as well when someone has family members who come in, because it's very, very painful to watch someone you know and love, you know, regress and forget you.
Right.
Forget you and lose their skills and lose who they used to be.
Right.
So that's a very hard thing to... Or well, hard thing is the wrong word, but it's a challenge, certainly.
Right. So how does that affect you as well? Like, how did you adjust it? Because I'm assuming perhaps now you're a bit more accustomed to...
That's a good question. I don't know. I think, you know, 4 years of training and you did placements and stuff like that. You just learn it's the job. And I've always been the kind of person... that sounds so narcissistic, that sentence, but like I can separate myself from my work, particularly that kind of work. The kind of things that get to me aren't watching somebody else's pain.
Okay.
Like I can empathize with that and see that it's difficult, but I don't take it home with me.
Right, okay. That must be a pretty good skill to have, because again, it's...
I don't know, maybe I need to reflect on that more. How did I get that skill? I don't know, but it's the gig, you know?
Yeah, maybe that's why you're so interested in Eastern European night. It's, you know, in Eastern Europe we repress a lot of things.
Yeah, maybe I'm repressing stuff, who knows?
Interesting, because I imagine it's a lot of intense emotions. Because I basically did law in my university.
Oh, cool.
And I ended up kind of moving away from it, but I remember like doing a couple of internships for criminal law.
Wow. Okay, how did you find that?
I didn't necessarily like that. I just thought that all the energy, because basically a lot of the cases that we were dealing with were basically, you know, young 16, 17-year-old youth in like the Manchester, Northern Manchester area, Greater Manchester area.
Did you study in Manchester?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was basically just like different kind of cases of violence against other youth, and it's just it was very like, I don't know, I didn't really gel with it.
That can be very scary, I think, because I have dealt with in the past people who may have a criminal record, and that can be intimidating, definitely, because I suppose you're aware of the risk.
Yeah, and I didn't really like the vibe. It was just a lot of especially like the quality of the people that you know end up in court for a criminal case.
Yeah,
tends to be quite questionable, I guess, and they tend to they tend to just lash out at everybody, right? Even though you're trying to help them, so I was like, okay, the energy was too negative.
Yeah, they're incredibly vulnerable, but then
exactly.
There's this really, really scary shell around that.
Yeah, like basically when people are cornered or they feel like they have no other, like there's the element of despair.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I don't really necessarily want to be in this particular environment, because I feel like it would start sipping out. So I wasn't able to kind of come back to the point to kind of like disassociate myself from, like, take myself out of the equation.
Actually, now that you say that, and I suppose reflecting on it, I think how I can take myself out of the equation is if I know I have done my job well.
Right.
So like that doesn't, like, at the time it would have been, did I have to put in shower rails or like a shower chair?
Right.
Or was it something more complex? Was I working with someone to like maintain this skill and get them home for another 6 months? You know, did that require more time? But if I know that I did the job well, then I can separate from it.
Right.
Because then you're thinking, well, okay, but had I not been there, or had I not worked, then the situation could be a lot worse.
Right.
So that's kind of a cool thing to be able to say.
Okay, I see, yes. Because you were in the equation, things are much better.
Because I had a role in it that could make things better.
Right, okay.
So the stuff I would take home with me is if I felt I hadn't done a good enough job.
Right, okay.
And that's when I think, okay.
I'm about to drop a very heavy question on you.
Yeah, shoot.
Okay, have you ever had, like, because, you know, obviously the relationship between you and the patients lasts for a longer period of time. Have you lost any people?
Have I lost people? Yes, I have. Yeah. Yes, I have. Yeah. But everyone in healthcare has.
Right.
That's the reality.
Again, very good point. Everyone in healthcare.
Absolutely. Nurses, doctors, physios, SLTs.
Do the different organizations that you work for, they provide any form of like services like therapy or like support?
They do. It's funny because like 10 years ago no one would have asked that question.
Right.
And now it's becoming much more important to talk about.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
So I have this, the reason why I'm asking that is because there's this story, you know like how these urban myths happen, right?
Okay.
So I used to live in Japan for a while.
Oh, cool.
And Japan has a bit of a dark side.
A bit.
Well, let me explain. This is about to get really fucked up. So Japan has a very big culture around cute stuff, right? So what happens is they sell a lot of puppies. And the puppies basically, look at your face. The puppies cost around like $3,000. Like the little Shiba Inus or the little cats, $3,000, $4,000, and people pay for them, right? But the problem is they only cost that amount of price for like the first 3 months. Because then they start growing out of the cuteness.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yes.
It isn't puppies in a sack, is it?
No.
Okay.
So basically what happens is then these dogs are purposely bred to be sold as tiny puppies.
Okay.
But then if they're not sold off as tiny puppies, somebody has to basically kill them. Yeah. So there's this story about how there was this one guy at the pound, whatever, his job was to basically inject them with like this.
That is horrendous.
Yeah, so his job was basically to kill puppies.
Okay.
So his job was killing puppies, and then after about 5-6 months, or like maybe about 2 years, I can't remember what that story was like, but basically, long story short, after 6 months of killing puppies, he killed himself.
Yeah.
And then they hired another guy, and that guy lasted for like 8 months, and then he also killed himself. So then they had to implement the system where basically now they just put puppies in a box and then have an automated machine that gasses them every 6 hours, which is even more fucked up, right?
Oh God!
I know, right?
Who came up with that?
The Japanese. That's pretty fucked, right? So the idea was, that's why I asked, like, I'm pretty sure you can't, be around death so much without affecting.
It depends on your line of work. I mean,
That got dark pretty fast, right?
that got dark. That took a turn.
Yeah, hey guys, what's the deal with the Japanese? Am I right?
Okay, because I thought, is this story going to be someone fills a sack with puppies
No,
and
no,
a brick,
no.
which is arguably better than the machine. But it depends on your line of work in healthcare.
Right.
So, like my line of work, mental health.
Right.
So if you're working with people old age over 65,
Right.
you're going to see more death than potentially working with young people
Yeah,
and
yeah,
adolescents, because of that's natural, But I suppose when we do see death in mental health, that's suicide, or patients are taking their own lives, and that can be very, very sad. But that's mental health.
Right.
A lot of it is quality of life. Someone who's incredibly paranoid might stay in their bedroom for like 6 months and never come out. So that arguably, we would do a lot of work getting their skills back or building up skills to kind of manage day-to-day life. But then if you worked in something like cancer care or palliative care, end-of-life care, that you deal with death all the time. Or if you work in like A&E or surgery. And that is, it's part of the job, and it's like, we have healthcare for a reason. People have to be able to deal with death.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And maybe we all as people need to deal with death a bit better. I don't know. I wonder.
I don't know about you, but I've told a couple of stories about dead puppies on stage. What are the listeners doing about this?
It's cathartic. Let's talk about dead puppies.
Yeah, okay.
You talk about granddad,
As one, I got a couple of jokes that are like in that vein of like cute but dark.
Yeah. Though, like, sometimes it's some things have to die. We're all gonna die. And I think palliative care, that's end of life care, for various reasons, and cancer care can be incredibly rewarding. If again your role or your job is to make that an easier journey for somebody.
But this is mostly like disease or like basically natural kind of, because disease is natural, right? Is there any such thing as assisted suicide in Ireland?
No.
Okay, so that's only somewhere in Europe, right?
Dignitas, the Swiss have it.
Yeah.
Sweden?
No, I think the Swiss. Maybe.
Swiss, the Swiss.
Okay, so that's different things. That's just basically just helping people, making stuff easier.
Yeah.
Are you able to use like drugs like what do you call it, ketamine or like weed in the
No, we can't use those.
Okay, because I know like in the US there's a
medicinal use of,
I think they're also doing testing like MDMA as well and stuff.
I've heard about it, the therapeutic use of hallucinogenics.
Right.
Yeah, again, I work purely rehab,
Right.
neurology-based stuff, kind of trauma-informed care.
Okay.
We don't go into pharmacology.
Right, okay, so let's kind of move away from that for now. Alright, it's a pretty strong start to the podcast. Let's try to go more towards Labrador energy. Yeah.
I'm on my holiday.
Yeah.
I'm talking about dead puppies.
Welcome to Berlin. About to hit up a techno club now. Puppies. Wow. So you come off to Berlin, or is this?
I come to Berlin every year.
Oh, wonderful! What brings you to Berlin?
I love the culture. I love how diverse it is. Anything goes. It's really chilled out. I always come in the summer because the weather's good. Whatever you want to do, you could do it in Berlin. And then sometimes I house sit for friends. They go back to Italy and I look after their flat and their cat.
Oh.
Yeah, which is nice. But they are fortunately here in Berlin, so I get to see them this year.
Irish people or?
No, they're Italian.
Oh, Italians, okay.
Yeah, so...
Manche cazzo, because they have a cazzo, okay.
So I get to see them this year, which is great, and I got an Airbnb in Wedding.
Okay, perfect.
Which is a lot of... Yeah, what else do I like? I love, this is mad, but the Cold War really fascinates me.
Right.
I think that the idea of the wall coming down and everyone's world changing overnight, and that was within our lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely.
I was 5 years old.
I'm pretty sure I grew up in the basically aftermath of that.
Yeah.
Because you had that, the post-communist era, where post-communism not as fun as communism.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. A lot of, because Yugoslavia would say something similar.
Because in communism, at least everybody has jobs. In post-communism, everybody has stray dogs. That's the joke.
I like that.
That's what it is, yeah. And it's less, nobody has any idea what the fuck's happening, right? At least in communism, you know that if you keep your mouth shut, things are gonna be the same. Not okay, the same.
Not okay, the same. But that it's a question of what you prefer.
Exactly. Yeah. But then obviously after post-communism, when things there's more Pokemon now, so that was a good thing.
What else do I love that, so I can talk to people about their memories of East Germany.
Do you speak any German or?
Yeah, I learned German in secondary school or high school. So it's not bad, but it's never going to be as good as my German friends' English. So.
Right. Okay, gotcha. That's what I'm saying.
And also, we write a lot in Ireland. Our education system is really scribing based, or it certainly was when I was in it.
Right.
And so I find that I can write German really well and read it really well, but then someone starts talking to me and I'm like, what is this accent they're using?
Right. Yeah, I think that's quite normal for a lot of people learning languages because, again, you have to, even listening you have to practice, right?
100%. Yeah, it's almost a totally different way to learn the language.
Right. So you're mostly interested in that aspect of this kind of frozen in time / world affected change of Berlin?
Yeah, but I think the thing is, it isn't frozen in time. Everyone remembers it, but the city has gone on and developed, and gone in so many different directions.
Yes.
Which I love, and I like. There's a beauty to Berlin's functionality because everything works, and if you just look at a regular street, just glance at it, everything looks the same. But actually, when you look a bit closer, every building is different.
Right.
And I love that, And then you'll find this crazy Art Deco building right beside this industrial neo-communist building,
right.
And then something just that's tiled in bright red and green.
Right. And then especially now, it's becoming more. There's a lot of people complaining about gentrification.
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot. Have you seen this place that we're recording?
Oh my gosh! I thought I walked into Google or something.
Yeah. This is the 0.0 for gentrification. This is.
It was so hip on the way in here that I was like, are they going to ID me or test me? Ask if I listen to Fleet Foxes. What's going on?
Yeah, because the thing is, this is basically, it's called a factory, and they remodel the whole kind of industrial factory.
So cool.
Into a startup kind of venue of sorts.
Everything looks so comfy. There's technology everywhere and lots of art and nice art.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. It can get a bit distracting because everybody's a freelancer of sorts. So everybody's a designer or there's a couple of random jobs sustainability. People are making clothes out of
Oh, cool. Plastic, recycled plastic.
Yeah. Or soy fiber or something.
Yeah. Every time I come into one of these buildings, I think I am not cool enough to be here.
I mean,
help people transfer on and off a toilet. They don't want me in this building.
Nah, I'm pretty sure it's very. I mean, basically, we have to just gotta add soy to your job, and then you're. No, I'll help rehabilitate people that were carnivores, now they're moving to veganism.
Veganism, yeah, modern new wave OT.
Exactly. So this is what I do, and I do this for a specific type of people. It's mostly basically retiring DJs.
Retiring DJs with acid flashbacks.
Exactly. So if you have that, they're like, oh, okay, I can see this is need. We need more of that.
Cool. Yeah.
Das geht, yeah. That's gluten tag.
Gluten-frei, yeah.
And okay, so basically, any particular plans, any particular part of Berlin? You into the techno scene? You into the drug scene? You into the any scene?
No to all of those.
Okay.
I didn't know there was an 80s scene. Cold War, love that stuff.
Right.
Love the whole ex-spy thing.
Right, the whole wall.
Yeah, the wall.
Back
to the wall. Have you seen the website Abandoned Berlin?
No.
Oh my god, it's so cool. So it's a guy who blogs about going to these different...
Write it down.
Yeah, check it out. A guy who blogs about going to these different abandoned sites in Berlin.
Right.
And some of them are so cool. So I usually check out his website to see what's new.
Is it like squat places as well?
No, they're not squats. Some of them people could be squatting in some of them. It's Berlin.
Right.
Everyone squats.
Right.
But... no, they're just abandoned buildings, which can be really eerie. So, like old cinemas,
right,
all that kind of stuff. Teufelsberg was on it,
right? Okay,
which I am going to go to tomorrow.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's class. So, do you know Teufelsberg?
I don't think I know. No,
I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Teufelsberg. It means Devil's Hill, and it was
okay.
an artificially made hill made from all the rubble in Berlin after the World War.
Okay.
And it was. It's in the Grunewald.
Right.
And it was. So the hill is artificially made, and on top of it they put 2 listening posts and radio stations for the West to listen in on the East as the Cold War escalated.
Right. Okay, that's pretty interesting.
It's cool, but now, so you walk through the Grunewald for about 40 minutes an hour, and then you find all the wire. You pay in now because they've realised it's a tourist thing.
Yeah.
And you head around to and the station is like, tiers of a cake. You go up, and then there's 2 domes at the top. Now, the tallest tower is closed, obviously, because people are going to fall through.
Right.
But the 2 domes are like these they have great acoustics in them, so bring a bit of music.
Right.
If you're a musician, it's cool. If you're a dancer, it's kind of cool.
We should check it out, yeah. The thing is, because I'm only here during summer, so I only moved here in September.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then I was living in Estonia before. I don't know if you remember the Estonia jokes that I did yesterday.
Yeah,
Estonia is like Norway if Norway was made in China.
What brought you to Estonia?
I was just working there for a company. I was working in Singapore before, and then I ended up moving to Estonia. So I had a bit of a convoluted background. What was I going to say? So yeah, you came to the Eastern European Comedy Night last night, yeah? Any thoughts on that? See, this worked out quite well because you have an interest in all this Cold War
stuff,
moments. And how did you find the evening?
I really enjoyed it, yeah. I found it really funny. I think I was telling you before, I have friends who are Croatian, which may or may not be Eastern Europe. They can decide. That's not for me to decide. But
thanks for geography to decide, guys.
But we make jokes about communism and stuff like that.
Right.
Because they remember it having had Yugoslavia. And we make jokes about their accent. And also there's kind of things that Eastern Europeans have amazing English and it's perfect, but we lose stuff in translation.
Right.
I was saying to you before we started, and it's just hilarious. It's really funny. Yeah.
So did you hear that, guys? Come to the next event. Buy tickets for the Eastern
and
European
it's
Comedy
so
Special.
reasonable.
It's not.
Yeah, 10 quid for like 2 hours of good comedy.
Yeah, Berlin is pretty cheap, but people are still cheap.
Berlin is cheap, yeah.
It's we're trying to do like a monthly thing now, just get that some like Eastern European pride going on.
Yeah.
We have something for our own. I know,
it was great. There was a Ukrainian guy at it. He was hilarious.
Yeah, Pablo was funny.
Yeah, very, very funny. And a Slovenian
lady.
Yeah. That was so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually.
And a Polish lady.
Yeah. So we did quite a good job of like mixing the genders as well.
Yeah.
So because there are people, basically now that this is one of the things is like once you need somebody to kind of step up and be like, oh, this guy can do what I can do. I can, So then we have a couple of people coming onto the scene, and we have Polish, Slovenian, there's another lady from Russia. We have no Bulgarians yet. Czech people not yet. But
we should get you a scratch map and you just put a
for-
line
oh, yeah,
through
for
Eastern
comedians, yeah, yeah.
European country we do.
yeah,
we
and
do.
it's fun because and I think also the morale, not necessarily morality, but like just the mindset's slightly more different in Eastern Europe because people are less sensitive, I guess.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I talked to a friend of mine who works in a lab at home, and we talk about how we want to work with more Eastern European ladies because they are straightforward and they get the job done.
Yeah.
They're blunt, but that's good.
Yeah, there's not a lot of beating around the bush. It's not a lot of trying to protect people's feelings. We have a job to do. We are going to do it or not.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
But which is quite unique in Ireland because Irish people don't like that.
Right.
You've got to be like, and kind of laid back and talk around it and use kind of soft, kind of wee crap language. I'm like, no, cut to the point.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
We're doing shit or not? I have borscht to eat at 4:00. Yeah. No time for this.
Lock closes at 5.
It's okay. So that was pretty interesting experience you had here. And then what about? Let's talk a bit more about like your place of birth, your place of actually Dublin, not your place of birth, the place where you live.
Where
now.
I live, Dublin. Yeah.
For people that don't know Dublin, let's talk a bit more about that.
Dublin is probably the most expensive place you could live right now. I'm sure they have I think something came out recently saying like third most expensive city in the world to live
What does
in.
that mean in terms of how much is rent, for example?
Rent, okay. Take a guess.
1,000.
Okay, so let's say for a month, what are you going to guess?
Well, okay, so let's say if we're taking an apartment, let's say studio, is it like €1,000?
2 people in an apartment?
Yeah.
No way. So you're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment in Dublin? I would say you'd be looking at $2,000.
Oh really? Fuck, that's getting San Francisco prices.
Crazy stuff. Like I lived in London, and you'd think Dublin is never going to surpass London when it comes to renting or house prices. I would say we're leaving London in the dust right now.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Why is that? Why is the sudden increase?
We don't build enough houses, and we didn't. There's a lot there. Europe designs cities really well, and they are happy to go up. Then people have apartment living. Apartment living is great. Another reason why I like to come to Berlin. All the apartments work, and everything's nice and clean. But in Ireland we don't have that. So like lots of house shares. On average, someone would be sharing a house with maybe 2 to 3 other people.
Right.
So maybe 4 people in a house, and everyone would be paying. A good rate would be $650 a month.
Right. Okay.
But like on
for
your room in the house, and you share, the living room, bathroom, and kitchen.
That's no bueno. It's getting expensive. No
bueno
at all.
No bueno indeed.
Is it the tech companies as well? Because I heard a lot of tech companies start putting their offices in Ireland for tax reasons.
They have. That's true. Right. And then you think, oh, that's great. It ups employment, but they set up these I don't know. I don't want to use the word gulag, but kind of modern day, slave living for 20-year-olds, where they just keep them in the building all the time, give them food because they don't have the life skills to make their own. Give them food, give them entertainment, all this stuff. Short-term contracts, so they don't have to deal with them when they get ambitious or get good at what they do. And then they also are now bringing all this hive or pod living stuff up, where they put them up and they share these fancy hostel places.
Yeah, it's like basically back in communism.
Exactly.
It's like this is company quarters. You live here with other people. You share 12 people share a room. You will go on factory.
You do come factory now.
Yeah, you go factory, then you shut the fuck up.
It's, essentially broad outline, same thing. And that kind of annoys regular renters in their mid-30s who kind of eventually want to buy a house in Dublin, because this is that between that and Airbnb, we can't afford to live in Dublin anymore. So I'm in Dublin for now, but don't know how long I'll be able to afford to live there.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's happening all over the place now. Start off San Francisco, the other places. Berlin is not here yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come in the next 10 years.
What's the average rent in Berlin?
You get away with €500 for a room.
For a room?
No, you get 400. Depends how far away you want to be from the center.
Oh, okay.
I pay 400, for example. I have a room and I pay 400.
Okay, and is that shared apartment?
Yeah, it's me and another guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
that's
decent.
great.
Yeah. But I know people that have their own studio, 2-room apartment for 700.
Oh my gosh.
And it's kind of but they've had it 3-4 years, and I think they have some rent protection schemes. So they're kind of really locked out there. But
yeah, they have, haven't they?
They have, yeah, because they've been living there for like 2, 3, 4 years, and apparently like you get like a flat, like 4 or 5 years ago, like €300. Yeah, but and now there's a big thing about how prices have been increasing aggressively.
Yeah.
So it seems to be like a common theme everywhere. Oh no, capitalism.
Yeah, see, this is it.
Yeah, this is
that was one thing I really liked. Where this is a joke I have with a friend as well back home.
Oh, a joke.
Well,
I'm a comedian. I like jokes.
A funny observation.
Right.
Because we have a mutual friend from Budapest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Hungarians.
Yeah.
They like to call themselves Central Europeans.
No, they were definitely Eastern Bloc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really?
That's why I keep telling them that no. We are a Central Europe here. Austro-Hungarian Empire. We are better.
They have that whole statue to your man, the American president.
Which one?
Oh, Nixon. No, not Nixon.
Not Nixon. Probably.
No.
What's the other one?
The guy who started Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. So the space race with Russia.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's Eisenhower.
No. God, the guy in the 80s. He was after Nixon.
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Well done.
Yeah.
So they have this whole statue of Reagan.
Right.
And he's walking towards the Russian embassy, and they're like, "We love this guy in Hungary."
Right.
And I was looking at them, why? And they said, "Oh, because he started Star Wars, which made Russia put all the money into the space race, which meant that they couldn't afford to sustain."
Right.
Eastern Europe anymore.
Right.
So that's why it all came down.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah,
was the moon landing faked or not?
That was a conversation. My mother, who remembers it clearly and was in America at the time, is adamant that it happened. And it probably did.
Probably did, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they can lie that well for that long.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. Yeah, why not? It happened. But the thing is, I just don't know enough to say yes or no. But I'm gonna buy it. Oh,
yeah, but we were talking about the capitalism thing.
Right.
And the kind of, are we looking at the collapse of capitalism?
Right.
And our Hungarian friend is like, why are you so obsessed with this? I mean, we saw capitalism fall already. There'll be something else. Like your mate said last night. You're like, why? Like, it's been done. Like, come up with something new. Because a lot of alternative theatre and stuff in Ireland at the moment is looking at that, but what happens if capitalism collapses?
Right.
That sort of dystopia.
Right. Okay, that's because everybody's so frustrated about the rising price of accommodation.
Rising price of accommodation, what's happening internationally.
Right.
I mean, looking at Brexit, if Europe falls, that's the collapse of capitalism.
I think to be honest, like, have you seen Maria Kondo? You know who Maria Kondo is?
Yeah. The cleaning lady.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
There, she cleans things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gig,
Pretty much, that's the gig, yeah, exactly, pretty much. The cleaning lady.
Sorry, that probably sounds mean.
No, it's the Japanese cleaning lady. That's very accurate, But anyway, basically she has that. I was trying to do a joke about how, how Maria Kondo's strategy is like, you take something, you see if it sparks joy, if it doesn't, you throw it away.
No joy.
I was gonna say, like, I think that's the same approach Europeans have taken to the whole Brexit thing. We've taken the Britain in our hands. Does Britain spark joy? No. Go away. So that's why I'm like, yeah, people are gonna be fine, even without the UK. No joy.
No joy.
No joy. See you later.
Good. Yeah. Well, that's what it looks like.
We'll see how that happens. This whole Boris kind of situation is.
I don't know. My theory is they needed someone. My theory is they don't want to leave because they've realised they can't.
Yeah.
And that they need someone as ridiculous as this whole situation has been to be able to stand up in front of the voting public and say, "Whoops, we made a mistake."
Yeah.
And can you really imagine any other politician doing it aside from him? Best case scenario.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's this psychopath who's mad on leaving Europe and will.
See, that's the thing. That might be the actual situation.
And they'll end up in some bizarre quasi-dictatorship. Which is, I don't know.
Yeah, this might happen. Scotland fucks off, then London becomes independent, and then you have the Midlands.
London cuts itself off and sails into the Channel.
Yeah, they go join Spain.
Or France.
Exactly.
They'd like France.
It's France, yeah.
They'd like France.
So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but this has been a very, very heavy conversation. Went from killing puppies to the fall of capitalism, yeah?
Yeah, this is very Berlin.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd like to take credit for that, but I think it was a team effort.
I think so too. Yeah, it's our dark Eastern European humor.
I think that's good. It's it's coming up, and that's one of the things I like. The other stuff that I was saying, like I was trying to do a joke the other day, but I forgot to do it. Was the fact how you've had every particular group of people have had their moment in the past couple of years. You had Black Panther, you've had Crazy Rich Asians. I can't wait for the Eastern European moment. Stray Dogs.
Stray Dogs.
Yeah.
Stray Dogs.
A movie from Eastern Europe.
This week on Stray Dogs.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Khrushchev, no more rice.
No more rice. Stop. Don't poo on floor. Go on.
Stray Dogs.
Good boy. Stray Dogs. I don't know, is there anything, I think we're coming in on 40 something minutes now.
Way, okay.
That went probably pretty fast.
It did actually, didn't it?
Yeah,
cool.
Time flies. We're talking about dead dogs and capitalism, yeah.
Dead dogs. Oh, dead dogs. Dead dogs is funny you should say that because...
Funny you should... Speaking of dead dogs, I just murdered one.
Speaking of dead dogs of Eastern Europe, I was again getting lost in translation, talking to my Croatian friend.
Right.
And he was saying what we watched on Netflix. This is a few years ago when Netflix was cool and new.
Right.
And
DVD based.
To us, yeah. Right. No, before it was DVD or after it was DVD based. And he said, "Oh yeah, I like to watch what I thought was Dead Dogs." And I said, "What's Dead Dogs?" And he goes, Dead Dogs, where people talk about stuff that they're experts on. Like, have I seen Dead Dogs? Is this like an European thing? Like, Dead Dogs. I realised he was saying TED Talks.
TED Talks!
And I just didn't understand the accent.
Oh, that's super funny. I like watching Dead Dogs. It's the moment where the life leaves the body is good. It's very good directing.
The light Levi.
Yeah. It's very good directing. They really
Wonder
capture.
gone.
Yeah. Then you see body. One first fly sits on nose. Then you know.
Fuck. The gold marble descends in room. Dog is dog.
Then you put slowly in bag and throw it.
Put slowly in bag with the rock and stone.
Exactly, yes. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Anything else you'd like to add before we kind of wrap it up?
Let's leave it there. I think we only had 2 of our themes, did we?
I think we had a bit of Dublin.
We got a bit of Dublin. We got my job in. And Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe,
sorry, how did I forget? Yeah,
it's a thing we've managed to...
I should have been more positive about Dublin.
Dublin's great. Let's say some positive stuff. Yeah. But the thing is, when I went there in April, it was super rainy, and I was like, oh my god, this is the worst.
Super ironic you should say that, because I'm in Berlin at the moment, and I fucking swam here.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So, okay, tell us some positive aspects of Dublin.
What is positive about Dublin? Dublin, what I love about it, and what I love about living in a city, is you can't sink it. It always survives. There's real, because when the recession hit, that was huge. It hit Ireland really badly. And it hit Dublin quite badly, but we survived. And I love how there's always something starting in Dublin. And actually, the recession was a great time to go there, because a lot of artistic communities started to get off the ground. And I think recessions can be good for artists, because we're not going to make any money anyway, so let's work on this. Let's do what we want to do. So that there was a great vibe around the city of kind of surviving, and there was an optimism to it, which I liked. And I liked how it went from everyone drinking prosecco and champagne and eating prosciutto to suddenly craft beer being cool, and everyone to hang out in startup Mexican restaurants where things were cheaper and stuff. That was cool.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So that's the kind of place that thrives under hostile environments.
Adversity. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about it. There's great character in Dublin. It's a beautiful city as well. I also growing up as a kid. You got to go in Limerick. You got to go to Dublin maybe once a year. Right. It was far away. The train was expensive. Very long drive. So Dublin was it was this really cool place. And now I live there, which I think is pretty cool. I'm like, man, this is home.
Does he feel this is...
I've made it. Yeah. I'm in Dublin.
I'm an adult living in Dublin.
I'm an adult. Wow.
The New York of Ireland.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, we're certainly acting like it's New York at the moment, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, especially rent-wise, right?
Yeah, rent-wise, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because I've never lived in the major city in Romania, Bucharest, because I kind of left right after. I grew up a smaller city in Romania.
Bucharest is meant to be beautiful.
Sorry?
Bucharest is meant to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, if you like the whole communist vibe, it's pretty nice. But it has a bit of a pre-war, pre-communist kind of vibe as well. So more of the medieval. It used to be called Little Paris. So it has like some aspects of like the old town that look a bit more.
Cool.
What's the word? A bit more bohemian.
Yeah.
Bohemian.
Artistic, I suppose. Or,
Then-
bohemian. Yeah.
Then you have like the massive kind of house of parliament that looks just basically there's one square on top of another square on top of another square. You know?
Functional square.
Blocks.
Corners.
Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty good corners. Yeah. So I haven't actually, but it's also changing quite a lot nowadays as well because of the whole. There's a lot of outsourcing from a tech side going into Romania.
Yeah.
A lot of people speak good English.
Yeah.
And
Have you a massive like efflux of young people?
there was a
Even
lot of
for
there
the rest of Europe?
was a big one when we joined the European Union in 2008. So about basically if you look at the statistics, Romania used to have like 22 million people, I think early 2000s,
Okay.
and then now it's like 18.
Oh my god.
That's a lot of people fucking off, yeah.
That is a lot of people. Croatia would say something similar, I think.
Yeah. So
Ireland was the same in the 80s,
but
but that was because there was no work,
right.
and everyone went to America.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's why so many Irish people Boston, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That kind of goes back as well.
Mayflower and stuff.
No, the Mayflower is that's way older. That's like the settlers in the States from England.
Right.
No, lots of Irish immigration. The time it first hit was the famine, so the 1840s.
Right.
Where the population were starving.
Right.
So everyone got on what they would have called coffin ships because so many people died in transit that they reached America in a coffin.
Right. Okay.
Or were put to sea.
Okay.
In a coffin. Another dark moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Here we go. I'm telling you, man.
So
the Irish people are kind of like the Eastern Europeans of that part of the world.
That was our biggest mass exodus, and then the next one was so people either went to England or went to America for the famine.
Right.
And then after that, the next one was like the 80s. Though people we had a long tradition of immigration.
Right. Yeah.
Up until recently, actually.
I mean, Irish pubs everywhere, right?
Irish pubs everywhere, and Ireland was always small.
Right.
So people were always leaving.
Right. Makes sense. How big is Ireland population-wise?
Population-wise, I don't know. The last time I used to look at this stuff, it was like 5 million, maybe.
Okay.
It's higher now. I think it's gotten much bigger recently.
Right. Because surprisingly, Romania's 22 million, pretty big country, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people just went over to Spain and Italy just because the language is so similar.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very similar. The Romanian is a Latin-based language, so like 60% of the vocabulary is very similar to Italian.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are just like, ciao, también, I guess.
Bien.
Yeah, you also ciao.
That we are also ciao.
For example, like in Italian, if you want to say good evening, it's buonasera. In Romanian, it's buonasera.
Hence the no bueno earlier.
Yeah. Oh, that's just me, though. We don't really say it. But yeah, you can use that as well. And Romanian's kind of like nu e bine, which is like nu e bueno.
Cool.
Close.
Okay.
Alright.
Because one thing Irish people are not good at is growing up with a European language. So
I mean, I just guess just generally English speakers are not very good at that, right?
Yeah, we are English speakers. So we have our native language, Gaeilge, or Irish.
Do you speak that?
I do, yeah.
Well, how did that, they still teach that in schools, or how does that work?
They teach it in schools, yeah. I don't speak it as well as I should or could.
Right.
But then there'd be regions of the country which are Gaeltachts, so and everyone speaks Irish there. And there'd be schools that only speak Irish.
Do your parents talk to you in like Irish, or?
My father was from Inishmore, one of the Aran Islands, which was like the Gaeltacht off the coast of Galway. So he would be a native Irish speaker, and then Mom would have done it in school but spoke English. So I spoke English growing up mostly. Dad and I would have talked Irish sometimes, but not as much as we probably should have.
just for the giggles.
No, we would have talked it, but yeah, not so much. It's funny, it like the dialects and stuff break up.
Can you say something in Irish?
What would you like me to say?
I say like this has been a great podcast. Hope you guys translate this with Google Translate.
So, oh no, I don't think I can say that. Hold on a second. So, because I'm switched to German at the moment. So, Tommy, so tá on podcast Kriegnahe Anish, agus Vishay Anawa.
Okay. Sounds legit.
So I said we are finishing the podcast now, and it was very good. Okay.
So that's a good note to kind of leave it on.
Cool.
Right. Well, thanks a lot for being on the podcast.
Thank you very much.
That's pretty Labrador energy with hints of darkness.
With hints of darkness, like a black lab.
The black lab. Yeah. You know what? Like a what do you call it?
Hunting dog.
Like a shelter dog. Shelter dog.
Aren't they all shelter
Yeah,
dogs?
exactly. Well, thanks a lot.
That's facts.
Thanks again once more, and enjoy the rest of your time in Berlin. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Dragos. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. There you go.